The Gunny Wolf, a tale from Africa. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there lived a mother and her little girl, and they lived right by the edge of the jungle. Every day, the mother would get up and she would make her little girl some breakfast. And then she would turn to her little girl and she would say, "Little girl, don't ever, ever go into the jungle." And every day, little girl would look at her mother and she'd say, "Mama, I would never, ever go into the jungle." One day, the mother got up and she needed to go and visit a friend that day, so she made breakfast just as she always did. And then she looked at her little girl and she said, "I must be on my way now, but remember, little girl, don't ever, ever go into the jungle." And little girl looked at her mother and she said, "Mama, I would never, ever go into the jungle." And little girl stood there and she watched as her mother walked down the road and around the bend. And just as she went around the bend in the road, the little girl turned around to go back into the house. And as she was turning around, she noticed, just out of the corner of her eye, the most beautiful little white flowers that she had ever seen. And they were just at the edge of the jungle. And little girl, she forgot everything that her mother had ever told her. And she walked over to the edge of the jungle. And she began to pick the flowers. And as she picked them, she sang this song.
Kumquat kiwa, kumquat kiwa.
And when she had picked all of the white flowers, she turned around to go back into her house. But then, just out of the corner of her other eye, little girl saw the most beautiful purple flowers she had ever seen. And they were just a little ways into the jungle. And little girl forgot everything that her mother had ever told her, and she walked right into the jungle. And then she started to pick the flowers. And as she picked them, she sang,
Kumquat kiwa, kumquat kiwa.
And when she was done picking all the flowers, she had the most beautiful bouquet full of white and purple flowers, and she thought, "Oh, my mother will love these flowers when she sees them." And she turned around to go back to her home. But just before she got turned all the way around, she saw the most beautiful, amazing, big, gigantic orange flowers that she had ever seen, and she knew she just had to have them. And there they were, right in the middle of the jungle. And little girl, she forgot everything that her mother had ever told her. And she walked straight into the middle of the jungle. And she started to pick the orange flowers. And as she picked them, she sang,
Kumquat kiwa, kumquat kiwa.
And she had the most amazing bouquet of flowers. She had white ones and purple ones and big, gigantic orange ones. And then she stood up, and there stood the Gunny Wolf. And the Gunny Wolf looked at her and said, "Little girl, sing me that gootin' sweetin' song again." And the little girl, very, very nervously, she began to sing.
Coom qua kiwa. Coom qua kiwa.
And as she sang, that old Gunny Wolf, his eyes, they started to close. And his big old head, it started to nod. And he fell asleep. And little girl, she started to run. Pitty-pat, 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 pitty-pat. And then the Gunny Wolf, he woke up and he started to run. Hunker-cha, 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 hunker-cha. And when he caught up to little girl, he said, "Little girl, why for you move?" And little girl said, "Who, me? Why, I no move." And the old Gunny Wolf, he said, "Then sing me that gootin' sweetin' song again." And so, little girl, she started to sing.
Coom qua kiwa. Coom qua kiwa.
And as she sang, that old Gunny Wolf, his head began to nod. And his eyes, they closed. And then he began to snore. Well, little girl, she started to run. Pitty-pat, 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 pitty-pat. And then the old Gunny Wolf, he woke up and he started to run. Hunker-cha, 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 hunker-cha. And when he caught up to little girl, he said, "Little girl, why for you move?" And little girl, she said, "Who, me? I no move." And the old Gunny Wolf, he said, "Then sing me that gootin' sweetin' song again." And so the little girl, she started to sing.
Coom qua kiwa. Coom qua kiwa.
And as she sang, the old Gunny Wolf, he started to fall asleep. His head began to nod. His eyes, they closed tight. He started to snore. And then he fell against an old tree. He slid right down to the ground and curled up into a little ball. And little girl, she started to run. Pitty-pat, 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 right to the edge of the jungle. And the old Gunny Wolf, he woke up. Hunker-cha, hunker-cha, hunker-cha. And little girl, she kept running. Pitty-pat, 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 right to the front gate of her house. And that old Gunny Wolf, he kept running too. Hunker-cha, hunker-cha, hunker-cha. Pitty-pat, pitty-pat, pitty-pat. The little girl ran right into her house and slammed that door tight. And little girl, well, little girl knew that if she ever went into the jungle again, that she was always smarter and a lot quicker than that old Gunny Wolf.